say our name and our student?
Yeah.
Oh. Do we have to go there?
To the camera.
Do we have to stand up now?
Oh, yes.
Rebecca Berg, 1537146.
India Barkley 1520736.
Megan Ratcliffe, 1503627.
Anita Brown, U134861.
Olivia Weeks 1315507.
Lauren Wheeler, 1502908.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. We are called Power Skills. My name's Megan, India, Becky, Anita, Olivia, Lauren. We just want to welcome you to our presentation that we'll be going through, talking about the research that we've been doing, the plan for the workshop and the presentation. It's all in here for you. So, we're called Power Skills because we would like to empower young people's confidence in their skills, to feel like they have power and for their choices. So I'll pass you over to India.
So as our brief expressed, we'd be working with children from predominantly disadvantaged backgrounds who attend schools in postcodes that have a low progression onto higher education. We decided the best way to approach this was split into groups that matched our individual skill sets. So in discussion on our first meeting, we all vocalised our individual responses to the brief. Some of us, including myself, attended kind of prominently disadvantaged schools in the past, so I felt that we could bring kind of more empathy and understanding to the task, while others have had professional experience in working with children and in theatre companies, and also devising workshops. So as you can see on the board, we have all our individual job roles here, but we have two main groups, one research and one creative devising. So Lauren, Olivia and Anita concluded that they'd researched data and statistics that would eventually feed into a performance and an interactive workshop, while myself, Becky and Megan would just start to generate ideas around a performance and a workshop that would just help to bridge the gap between secondary and higher education. And if not that, then just to kind of provide some unanswered questions about the transition from secondary to higher education.
So, as India's just said, obviously we were all part of the research group. When you're doing an outreach project, obviously the first thing that you're going to think about is doing the initial research. So one of the things that I found at first was that 60% of young learners expressed that they wanted to progress to higher education, but the numbers didn't actually translate to that. And then we started thinking of, okay, what are the issues, what are the barriers that are stopping them from wanting to enter higher education? So the first thing we thought was achievement, and this can be due to like low achievement at GCSE, and also lack of emphasis on the routes into higher education. Also finance and families, so obviously we know that higher education does come with a cost, but we feel like we need to educate the students on bursaries, scholarships and student finance to make sure that they realise that it's not as bad as they seem and that they are going to be okay, and there is these other routes that will help them through it, like the smart teams and things like that at universities. And families as well, we found that 52% of families didn't want their children to go to higher education, which is quite a high number. So yeah, we just wanted to make sure that the families were also aware of, we wanted to support them on a sort of emotional level, because obviously some families didn't want their kids to go into higher education because they just didn't want to let go. But also obviously they worry about the cost as well and whether or not it's for them, you know, whether or not they're going to be having to give them money if they run out of their loans, stuff like that. Then we looked at gender and ethnicity, so we found that there was a high percentage of females in these specific boroughs that go to higher education over males, and also that black and minority ethnic groups are more likely to go into higher education. People that are less likely to go into higher education are those from lower socio-economic bands, such as ones with mental health problems, kids who come from families in poverty, and also those involved in crime. And also we looked at career advice and pathways as well, because we feel that some of the career advice that gets given to students, especially like from my own personal experience, isn't the best for everyone, and there could be more personal advice. And there's also a big push on A-levels as well, over more vocational courses. So we all talked about how we were all pushed towards A-levels when we could have maybe been doing something more vocational, because A-levels aren't for everyone.
Hi, so my aim task was to find some recent research that challenges why is it that young people aren't going into university, aren't going to higher education. So I found a research study that was done in 2016 August by the Sutton Smith Trust. Now they are a foundation, well-known foundation, founded in 1997, and they have done like 170 research studies that are specifically focused on funding programs to support with young people in education. So they stated that 70% of young people believe they are likely to go to university. However, 47% worry about the cost of university. They also state, however, there are still a minority who think that university isn't for them or that they aren't clever enough to go. Now, the factor of finance, the fact that maybe a lot of students worry about their future, thinking about, well, maybe I'll get into debt like in the future, that is a very most common issue. However, I do think also, as Sutton Smith Trust have stated, that this whole confidence with students thinking that they're not good enough to go into university, the fact that they've got this negative mentality is something that I believe something we need to research in depth in the future. For every child, every student should feel like every child wants to fulfill a potential, every student wants to do well, but if they haven't succeeded at qualifications, then they can't therefore go into university, so that is going to have an effect on their confidence. And if they feel that they can't get those qualifications and they can't get into university, what are they for? It makes themselves question, what am I good for? And from experience from being at school, there is this whole competition where you're in top group, you're in bottom group. I'm in bottom group, and you feel like it's something that it's an issue that I believe something that needs to work on is the confidence of the child. Obviously, you're in bottom group. You're not in bottom group. You're smart, but it's just, I think, a child's mentality. So from this research, I think that this kind of looks at a variety of issues, and I think if we can improve and make, people, children feel that they are capable of doing something, they have got support, maybe it's lack of encouragement maybe, so these are issues I think that need to be looked at in the future. So, thank you.
Okay, following on from what Olivia was saying about doing the research to look for what young people can do and attain, I've looked into a few projects. Here at UEL we offer outreach programs, we offer day visits where parents and families can come in and research and experience the whole university setting themselves. They have a good disability and community engagement programs where people can come in and benefit from visiting UEL. We've also, Bad Forum is a Barking and Dagenham Youth Forum Centre, which is based obviously in Dagenham but can cover Newham also. They offer a mentoring service for young people, so they one-to-one support. They can talk through their issues and find stepping stones and markings towards other opportunities that can help them to decide what they want to do. We also looked into XLP, which is a Christian-based but not Christian-biased youth charity. It's an urban charity and it has a youth boss. So the boss actually goes to underprivileged urban estates where they interact with the young people, they can do baking, they have different things on the buses, and they're welcome to go there. Whilst doing that, they can also contact XLP who will visit schools and offer mentoring services within the schools and outside of the schools, which can be very beneficial for young people. It helps to create that positive future that young people often can't tap into because they don't know where to go, where this boss actually, if contacted, if needed, they do have a base in Newham and all over the City of London. I also looked into an organisation called Citrus Saturday. Citrus Saturday was created by UCL, University College of London, and they offer the young people the opportunity to try entrepreneurship for their own, for themselves. So they give them a starter pack, they give them a toolkit, they can go in there, they create a store making lemonade out of lemons, and I think there's a metaphor there that no matter how bad things are for young people, no matter how much poverty there is, you can make lemonade from lemons and turn it into a successful business. And then we've got the Bee Barking and Dagenham Mentor Service. Again, it's different. Sorry, we've done the mentor. It's the forum I'm talking about now. The forum is a platform for 13 to 19-year-olds where they can contact, they go, they discuss their issues, their problems, and they're given a voice so that they can talk to the powers that be that will not listen to them directly, but in a forum setting with a key mentor, a key peer, somebody in their position, they can have a voice to say what they need for their area. We have some leaflets there. With what we've compiled a few organisations, we're planning to do like an information booklet that can give all the information for the families, the parents, the peers. So sometimes you'll get young people who will have an idea to go and do something, and they're normally talked out of it. Their friends and peer pressure will talk them out of it, but where there's forums and organisations where they can go to as a collective, they're more likely to want to get involved, and then that hopefully will create more positive futures for the young people because they'll realise that there is places for them to go to that are not just the confines of the school system.
In this section of our presentation, I would like to address the commission brief that we have received. We designed a performance in a workshop that is relevant to our audience. We use their own and other students' experiences to develop a piece that includes the different paths and choices that were made along the way in order to end up here altogether. Through our workshop, we would like to offer a unique opportunity to the students to explore or even discover their own personal skills and strength that can be incredibly useful when making their own future decisions. We wanted to create a meaningful performance that is relatable, interactive, and entertaining, and to demonstrate a few of the obstacles one may encounter as a student. The situations and obstacles we are showing in the performance will be used later on in the activities during the workshop to motivate the students to find solutions to their own fears, struggles, and dreams. During the 2-hour program, we are providing information on higher education, funding, and family support. However, as our time is quite limited there, we created these leaflets just that they can take home with them, not only for the students, but for their families as well, that it's something that can actually help inform them about the British educational system. As we only have female members in our group, in our performance we use a character called Frankie, who is a gender-neutral protagonist. We would like to carry this inclusivity throughout our time there. We are not bringing ultimate truths or answers, we are bringing questions that can be answered by with the students. We would like to offer an opportunity to them to gain a voice, to be heard, to have a greater optimism for the future, and after all to decide for themselves and not for their friends, family, or their favorite teacher.
So the workshop will be an hour and 30 minutes long. And we aim to be interactive, trying to involve students' voices and opinions about the struggles and future opportunities that they may encounter. So this is just a brief plan of the workshop. we're going to get to know the students and their skills, and we're going to develop those skills and how they can be a career for them. So if they can beatbox, we can tell them they can be a professional beatboxer. And from the performance that they'll have before the workshop, we're going to take the obstacles that the protagonists face and use them in our workshop, so like money, family, and we're going to work with the children to see what they make of it, and then hopefully develop something out of it. As for the performance, it's based on a typical teenager's obstacles and the problems that they face when going into higher education or making a decision of their career. So like I said, there will be struggles along the way: money, family, culture, personality, dream and peer pressure. It's going to be explored in further detail throughout the piece, whether the main character is overcoming those obstacles or whether they're just actually facing reality. We're going to leave it open for the audience, so they can have their perspective on it. Me, Inda and Becky are going to show you a quick snippet of the performance, but if you have any questions or you want to contact us, please do have questions after, and we'll happily take them as well.
If it's okay, I'm just going to turn this off because it's just very loud. Hello everyone, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Frankie. Frankie is 14, likes to play on the computer, loves some of the Snapchat filters, and can play with them for a surprisingly long time. Does not like swimming because people often pee at the pools. Enjoys most of the classes at school, except a few of them, but cares about them anyway. Frankie likes to take long walks after school when they can discuss everything and anything. And secretly likes to vacuum at home because it's quite satisfying to see all that dust disappear. But most of all, Frankie is one of those awesome people that you can tell they have it together. Yeah, that's absolutely, without a doubt, a lie. Frankie does not feel like having it together. Frankie mostly feels lost, terrified, overwhelmed, pressured, and mainly invisible. Frankie is constantly reminded that in the foreseeable future, what does that mean anyway, foreseeable future? Like a year, 2, a few weeks, maybe a month? Could you please clarify that? Because I'm just freaking out already. So as I was saying, Frankie is constantly reminded that in the foreseeable future, decisions have to be made about higher education, career options, and pathways. They have to decide whether this class is more important than the other one is. What is important anyway? Like, there's a group of old people who decided that math and science are absolutely crucial for one's future, but choosing arts and English will destroy all possibilities for a happy and successful life. Frankie has to decide soon. But there are so many factors, so many things to consider, and way too many important decisions to make. While Frankie is sure that they haven't learned anything, have no skills, can barely write an essay, and will never be accepted anyway, but that doesn't really matter, because they couldn't even pay those millions of pounds that future costs. Dear wonderful and patient audience, let me guide you through one of Frankie's days, the struggles and obstacles Frankie goes through in order to make a decision for the future. Frankie's at home, getting ready for the school, where they have the careers advice person coming in to tell them how unprepared they are, but not to worry, because their dreams are out of reach anyway. Just a little note from me, before we begin, just to make sure that I'm conveying the right message. You can be prepared, your dreams are never out of reach, and you are enough. Let's begin, shall we?
Great, well thank you very much. It's in a week, you did your formative assessment last week, and even in a week I can see how you've really worked on things that you and we looked at in that workshop, so thank you very much. I'm going to leave questions now to our wonderful commissioners and guests, and you're very welcome to even ask the first one if you wanted to. Do you think young people like this workshop?
Oh yeah, I do.
Why do you think?
Because you can easily relate to the protagonist, especially because it's he or her is gender neutral.
Okay. Great. Charlotte or Lauren, would you like to ask any questions?
Just a general comment. I mean, I thought it was fantastic, your research. You've kind of summed up our entire career in the space of your project, which I think is amazing. You've got researchers who are, you know, interviewing young people and working tirelessly to find out what these barriers and challenges are. And just the snippet of the workshop, I'm so eager to find out how you approach that. I think it's really exciting. So thank you for that, because I think you've done a really good job on your research. So it really shows.
Just another comment on the research. Obviously, I really liked the fact that you included who you looked at and sort of what sort of research, and the fact that you've gone with the continuum team that's based at UEL. You've looked into UEL, you've looked into Sparkle and Dagenham, you've looked into a range of different levels of education to get this research together. It was really, really good in-depth research. And I also really liked just the way you brought your own personal experiences into it as well, and the way you placed yourself into that research. So whether you come from a disadvantaged background, whether you was given the wrong information that A-levels are the way to go, but they weren't for you. I really, really like the fact that you put yourself into the whole project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, we obviously haven't seen the performance all the way through yet. So just wondered, how important do you think the role of the family and your peers and your influencers, how important are they in the decision-making process?
Yeah. These are the actual 3 obstacles that we're mentioning in the play as well.
So
I really envy your pressure.
So what we did at the start was we wanted it to be sort of verbatim, which it is. Like the script wasn't just written randomly, and we had interviews. So we split up into pairs and we interviewed each other, we recorded it, we wrote it up, and then we chose bits that we wanted and put it into a script. So it is our own personal experiences. And we talked about, some of the questions were, how did your family influence you? How did your friends influence you? What were your worries? Was this what you wanted to do? Was this always what you wanted to do? Was this your dream? Etc. like that. So, yeah.
Fantastic. My other question is just around the different pathways that you reference. And it's interesting, and maybe Joran wants to add to this, but just how difficult did you find it to find what the different pathways are and to interpret that information? Because I think one of the feedbacks that we get from young people is quite hard. There's a lot of information out there, isn't there?
Yeah, that was what I looked at. Different pathways, apprenticeships, vocational courses, stuff like that. And I didn't want to focus too much on like uni degrees, but I found a lot about, especially vocational courses and apprenticeships, like how you can literally do a course on anything, and people don't know about like you can literally just do it on anything, and whatever skill you've got, there's going to be a course that suits you. But like that's what we need to put across.
That's great. And there was something I wanted to
I
ask.
just wondered, so how long is the performance? Is this a snippet from a
It's a
larger
very,
piece?
very tiny snippet of the performance.
Yeah.
Because we still have to constantly change it as we get new information. So we have this beginning part, and then we have basically monologues or dialogues between the 2 personality sides of them.
So have you thought about, I love the framing of it, I think it works really well, and I love the idea of these two people, 2 bodies playing the one person. And have you thought about how you might physicalise that a bit more?
Yes.
Just so that it felt a bit,
it was not meant to be like
It wasn't
Okay.
like,
cool.
it's very different to that. There's kind of 2 sides of us, so I'm kind of really enthusiastic, a little bit naive, maybe just kind of see the positive side, and then Megan's
That came
like,
through, it totally came through. That came through.
we wanted to show an actual monologue that they had, but since then we changed it because we were making it as Frankie's older version is saying at uni, but we want to go back to a 14-year-old Frankie, so we have to rewrite that part.
So is there that narration part in it?
Yes, the narration is starting, they are just sitting there, and then their monologue will
Okay.
begin.
So sorry, what I'm trying to offer is, for me, that works really well. I think the narration works and how we meet you works, but there's a lot of narration, and if you moved, it just felt, there was for me as an odd sort of engaging with it, there was an opportunity there maybe of just sort of offering whether you create 5 tableaus that show the different parts to the narration, that show these 2 different parts. So it's just a bit more body as well. That's. But you
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
There will be, yeah.
Does that, I don't know, does that make people feel? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally agree. That was very.
Actually,
Don't worry. No, just because I think it's really, I agree. I think it really works. I think you exactly. It's really inviting. But I just think actually, as a performance piece, it could go more, could go further.
But you are developing.
You're on. But this is what this is about.
But
Yes,
we
well,
just
Yeah.
we were just kind of following Becky's narration at that point.
Yeah.
But
I thought
it goes deeper.
But well, no, it's great.
The gender neutral
Good.
characterisation was great. I love
Yeah.
the nuance of the expression as well.
It's
It's
lovely.
very contemporary. So, and you've had a thumbs up from someone who's far nearer the age group than I am. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, so excellent presentation and excellent ideas, and I agree with everything that everybody said. The only kind of offer that I would give is that one of the things that I find when I work with young people who are making decisions is the absolute dread about making the wrong decision, and often not making a decision because it's easier than making the wrong decision, and being scared of one decision taking you in one route and you'll never get back to that other thing that you're also interested in. And so potentially to interview some people who've left university, who are a little bit further on in their careers. I often find that when we do careers talks, we have people who maybe are still studying, people who are a few years out studying, and maybe people who are 10, 15 years into their career. And when you have experiences of people who have changed, who've not had one career and who've gone on lots of different routes and have ended up, they've studied one thing but then they've worked in something else, that's quite affirmative for this idea of having confidence in your decisions and knowing that you're not turning your back on everything else if you take one path at one particular point. So that can be really
Thank you. We need to move on, but I'm just an opportunity for a last question. Karen, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. I thought it was super.
Well done.